Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. I figured we should probably go live to see if in fact Bitcoin has the juice to make it to 60K. Let me post this in a couple different places and then we will jump in. Let's see. All right, hold on a second. All right. Well, where are the chairs? They're there. All right. So Bitcoin has now broken above 59K. Obviously, there's some speculation on the ETF approval and whatnot. But what's interesting, let's go look at the daily time frame. We've taken out one of the prior peaks, and we're about to take out a second one. All right, so let's take a look at this. This peak here, we've gone above, because this one peaked at 58. 4, 58, 5, somewhere in that area. It's something like that, right? I'm not going to nickel and dime. This one, though, went a little bit higher, all the way up to like 59.5, 59.6. So we're very close, and by we, I mean Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very close to taking out, it already took out the first peak. It's very close to taking out the second peak in terms of, not in order, but just in order of, say, how high they ultimately went. So first one, check. Yeah, could we go back below it? Of course we could, but it doesn't change the fact, it does not change the fact that we broke it, okay? No matter what happens, it doesn't change that, so we broke it. So the second one to watch for is, I would say 59.5. Let's see if we can break 59.5. If we break 59.5, then we're above the second one. All right? That'll be a lot for one night. The third one is all the way up at 61.7, and then the highest one is obviously all the way up just below 65. A very modest $65,000. So I told you guys back then, right? I told you when we held the 20 week. Look, that's all we needed to do. This is all we needed to do. What did we need to do? We needed to hold the line. We held the line. What did I say? Clear skies ahead. Clear skies ahead, right? Don't worry about the bearish stuff because the bears are going to scream at the trap all the way to 100K. What I said is, if we hold the line at the 20 week, we just simply have clear skies ahead. That doesn't mean there's not going to be some resistance. And you guys have seen over the last few days, there obviously has been some resistance as this rally has leveled off a little bit. I mean, it's taken a little bit of a breather, but that does seem natural, right? It seems natural for something like that to occur when you're coming in on resistance that we more or less held for about 3 months, okay? 3 to 4 months of resistance. So we've now broken through the first peak. It looks like we're about to break through the second peak as well. Give me another $100 and we'll call it, right? We'll call it and say second peak is broken as well. We need about another $125, now $150 or so to get to that level. The third one, we got a ways to go. I don't know if we'll make it there tonight. Probably not. The fourth one, almost assuredly, well, I don't want to say almost assuredly, very unlikely to happen tonight. But what I would say is that while it may not happen immediately, I would still contend that it is very likely to happen, okay? I do not think that 64K is the market cycle top, right? And whenever we get above 64K, well, really we should say 65K because we went all the way almost to 65K. So let's say we need to get to 65K, not 64. We had a wick to like 64.8K. Let's just say when we get to 65K and we break through it, it'll be time to put your rally caps on, right? It'll be time to put your rally caps on. Because at that point, once you break through prior all-time highs, you do typically see fairly nice moves, right, at that point. You know, I mean, again, that's what happened over here. We broke through the prior all-time high, and after that, by the way, after breaking through the prior all-time high, look, you can see what happened. What did it take to get to the local top? Not the market cycle top, but after we broke it, I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to perform exactly like that again, because it would take us up to, I mean, it's possible, right? It's possible that it would take us up to around 220,000 by February, okay? Well, actually, no, yeah, this would be if we break it, though. And I'm saying by February, drawing it just sort of like a straight line. Probably wouldn't be like that. It'd probably be somewhere over here or something. So if it were to repeat exactly, it would take us over 200K, you know. But again, it's probably not going to repeat exactly in the same way. But what I would say is what it shows is how, you know, it shows how important holding the line is, right? I tried to prepare everyone for months for this, you know, this eventuality. The idea that Bitcoin can hold the line at the 20-week after a bounce off the 50-week, that it can do it, and that saying it can't do it is just utter nonsense, right? Just because it's never done it before doesn't mean it can't do it. Okay, so that's, you know, I think that's a key point to make. Just because it hasn't happened in the past doesn't mean there can't be a first time. So the 50-week saved us over here. The 20-week and the 50-week saved us over here. And now what? We've made a move back to the prior local high of February. We're trying to break the one from May, but again, we need a few $100 more to make it there. So, you know, I said it before, the bears are running out of lines to redraw, okay? They are. I know. I've seen them around. They're getting a little bit more skittish now than they used to be a few weeks ago. But you know, it's only a matter of time before the bears have to throw in the towel, because right now I think they're on life support. So let's take it one step at a time, right? What do we know with Bitcoin? Time is on our side. All right. So whatever happens tomorrow, whatever happens next week, what do we know? Time is on our side. Don't miss the forest for the trees, right? Just stay focused. You know, nothing has changed, right? Nothing has changed. Ultimately, I do think Bitcoin will prevail and trend much higher than a very modest $64,000-$65,000. So some other things we can look at. You know, we've talked about some of these other indicators that we've been working on here. So this is the forecast of the 20-week. And what I'm going to do is I want to change. So I'm going to take out the 8-week, and let's do an up-down forecast. Okay. And let's suppose that the price of Bitcoin moves up on average, let's just say 4% a week. Now, you're probably thinking, well, you know, it's probably going to move up more than that because, you know, 3 weeks ago it was 11.5% and 13.5%. This week's already 8%. So what's been smoking? Say it's only 4% a week. We're just going to say 4% a week to be somewhat conservative. And also to say, well, you're probably going to get a couple weeks sprinkled in here and there that are red, right? I mean, you're still going to get red weeks. We even got red weeks over here. So if that were the case, if Bitcoin were to increase by approximately 4% per week, the 20-week moving average is going to start moving up relatively quickly. And if it increased by 4% a week, the 20-week SMA would reach $64,000 by mid-December. Okay, so I mean, it's interesting because the 20-week SMA leveled out right at around 49K. All right, the 20-week SMA did not make it above 50K. Right now, the 20-week SMA is at $43,000. If we were to go up about 4% per week, it would only take us until early December to get to the 20-week being at 50K. I'm not talking about the price, right? I'm not talking about the price. The price is already about 50K. I'm saying it would only take the 20-week, you know, maybe a month and a half to get to 50K at that rate. Now, if we were to go up quicker, like if we were to go up, say, 10% a week, obviously things can move a lot quicker. But it just, you know, it shows you how unrealistic 10% a week is for very long, right? It's not likely to happen. That'll just go up 10% every single week without a couple of pullbacks here and there and whatnot. So I wouldn't assume something like that. There's another one as well that we have, and this one, it uses linear. It just simply uses linear regression based on the the prior prices to project out the 20-week estimate, the 21-week EMA, and the 8-week estimate. So this is another one that we're going to have. But this one's interesting because it just sort of tracks where it thinks that these various moving averages might go, and of course they are all very important moving averages. By the way, the 8-week moving average is currently at 49.9. Okay, so remember that. If Bitcoin gets a pullback, which we always have to be ready for, we might not go back to the bull market support band. It could be the 8-week moving average. So keep it on the 8-week moving average in the event of a pullback. Right now, it's actually at 49.9. So hopefully, if we were to get a pullback, we would hold the line there so that we don't have to go back down to the bull market support band. But right now, I think things look relatively good. Bitcoin is over 59K at the moment. So we'll take this one step at a time. If we look at our corridor, what are theoretical limits right now? It's good to get an update on that every once in a while to see, okay, where are we? What are theoretical limits? I'd say it did a pretty damn good job of showing you the bottoms. Okay, I mean, obviously I created this indicator as a joke back over here. In fact, I created it, I think, in early April, but it actually did a pretty good job of getting those local bottoms. Okay, pretty good job. And now the question is, well, what are the limitations on it? Well, where does it currently say that the bounds are on the price of Bitcoin? By the way, these are the bounds today, not the bounds tomorrow or next week. I'm just telling you what they are today because we know they change every single day, well, every single week or so. The lower bound is all the way down at like 27K. I don't think we're going there. The upper bound right now is at 103K. But remember, this is only going to increase with time at this point. You can already see that it started to roll over here. Okay, so this would say instantaneously 103K is possible. Okay, in the event of an absolutely catastrophic dump, which again I don't think is going to happen, but if it were, it would say 26.8K is the lower bound. What other things can we look at? Let's take a look at the fair value. Obviously, we're way above that. That's a good thing because the reason why we like being above the fair value, and this is the yellow line that sort of cuts through all the data, I want to remind you, by the way, guys, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also, click the bell icon, turn on your notifications. The reason why it's great being above the fair value is because whenever we have a bull market and we go below the fair value, it indicates that, okay, the bear market really is here to stay long term and we're going to have a long accumulation phase, right? We held it as support here. We had a second leg. We broke below it here, long accumulation. Okay, we broke below it here, long accumulation. So far, we held it as support. Okay, and we've speculated for, since January, maybe even December, that this is going to be, at the very least, a double peak cycle. So if in fact this is a double peak cycle, then it stands to reason that we should be able to stay above the quote-unquote fair value logarithmic regression trend line of Bitcoin. And then if we are able to stay above it, and which we have, and we held the line at the 20-week SMA, it stands to reason that the more likely direction, for a while anyways, is more likely up than down. Now again, I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, we could always have corrections and whatnot. We're not concerned with those, right? If you're concerned with that stuff, go watch another channel. We're so more looking at these macro trends in the market. Okay, that's all we care about. Anything else is noise. It just is. It's just noise. Don't concern yourself with it. So let's go take a look at Ethereum. Okay, I know everyone loves talking about Ethereum. I'm very bullish on Ethereum myself. And as I've told you, Ethereum right now is in nothing more, in my opinion, than long accumulation. All right, that's what it's in. Could we get another pullback to the 20-week? We could. We certainly could. For that to happen, you'd have to see Bitcoin have a pullback. But regardless, I think we're just in long reaccumulation. And actually, we're sort of slowly trending up here. Maybe if we want to draw it like this, we're sort of coming to a potential breakout point relatively soon. All right, I mean, yeah, it could extend. I mean, it could extend for another month or so maybe. But I do believe that Ethereum will break out eventually. And when I say eventually, I'm looking at no more than 3 months, probably before then. Okay, I do think Ethereum will do well in 2022, but that doesn't mean it can't make moves in 2021, right? I mean, remember last year, 2020, in fact, it made some moves in 2020, okay, especially in Q4. But the real move came in Q1 and Q2 of the following year. So we look at Ethereum today and we say, well, you know, could we see new all-time highs in 2021? Hell yeah, we could, right? Of course we could. But I would still be more optimistic about what's going to happen in 2022. So I look at this and I say, you know, I mean, we're just simply in long accumulation. If we have another pullback, so be it. I don't really think it's going to change much of anything except delaying the inevitable at this point. Just something to keep in mind. ETH or Bitcoin, it's put up a pretty good fight today. But again, we know that historically speaking, it does tend to bleed in Q4 against Bitcoin. We'll see what happens, right? I mean, I'm certainly not married to the idea that it has to go down in Q4, but it is certainly, that is what has happened every Q4 in the past. At least the consolation prize is if it does continue to bleed in Q4 and Bitcoin USD goes up, then at least Ethereum USD is going up with it. It just might not be able to keep pace with it, which is what happened last year. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, ADA is, as I said, I just think it's, everyone always gives me a hard time when I say this stuff. I said this back over here that we need, you know, a few months before we're going to see another, you know, sustained breakout. Okay, we've already had a month since I said that, and this is sort of the window I'm looking at for ADA for a potential breakout. If we overlay that bull market support band on there, we can see it. We've already had another wick to it. So I would say best case scenario for ADA is something like that. Okay, maybe if we want to be more conservative, maybe it would be something like that. Okay, but that's sort of what I'm looking at for ADA. I do believe it'll break out. My best guess in terms of a breakout above $3 is sometime between November and March. Okay, if you want more resolution than that, then go consult your crystal ball. I don't have one, and I'm just dubiously speculating over here. Obviously, it will depend on Bitcoin continuing to do well. Obviously, it will depend on the idiosyncratic risk of any individual cryptocurrency and the nuances that could come if things don't go according to plan. So I'm dubiously speculating that it will break out sometime between November and March. Again, if you want more clarity on that, go consult your crystal ball, because I can't tell you. Same thing with DOT. I'm actually relatively bullish on DOT. It's already above the bull market support band. It's doing relatively well. The highest weekly close that DOT has had is at $44. We're already at almost around $41. We already had a wick up to like 42, 43 area. So I am fairly bullish on DOT, and I'm excited to see what it has in store over the next several months. Okay, so keep DOT in mind. Some other projects that we also talk about, obviously Avalanche is one. It's still well above its bull market support band. There was a lot of hype over the last few weeks. It's died off a little bit. I still believe good things are coming for Avalanche for the next few months and even as we go into 2022. Some other ones, you know, I mean, we can go talk about Link USD. So Link has obviously not been performing as well recently as a lot of us would have liked, but at least it's still above the bull market support band. I mean, you'd think it wouldn't be that hard to do considering what Bitcoin's doing, but it is still above the 20-week SMA. It's still above the 21-week EMA, but only barely. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully it can hold that at the very least, because I mean it really does need to hold it, you know, to prove itself, right? I mean, just hold the damn line, right? What else do we have? What else do you guys want to talk about? How about ADA Bitcoin? Yeah, we'll go take a look at ADA Bitcoin. I think it broke below, right? I mean, yeah, it definitely broke below on here, which I mean, I think makes some sense. Okay, as I said before, Bitcoin dominance usually goes up in Q4. And if we come back up in the next few days and ADA Bitcoin closes the week above this, that'll look incredibly bullish. But I'm looking at it thinking, well, you know, it's probably not going to happen. If it does, it looks really great. Looks really great for ADA if it can do that. But at this point, I just look at this and say, you know, well, I do think that ADA has a way to go. But I also have to pay the respects to the king, and the king is Bitcoin, and when the king runs, the market bows down to it, okay? That's just the way it works. So let's just see what happens here. I'm still very bullish on ADA for the cycle. I do think it'll put in new all-time highs. I do think we need a little bit of time in order for us to get there. If we go look at the ADA Ether valuation, we actually are coming back down on the prior local top region of April 2018, March of 2019, well, I guess April 2019, and then July of 2020. Those valuations came in at around 52.50. The ADA Ether valuation, we're currently at 56.98. Maybe we'll get a bounce off there. Maybe this is some trend line as well. So perhaps that'll be an area to watch in the event of a continued dump of the ADA Ether valuation. What else do you guys want to talk about? By the way, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. We also do have the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. If you want to join the Telegram channel and become friends with your, let's say if you want to join a party with 50,000 of your closest friends, you should join it. But remember, there are scammers in there that'll pretend to message, they'll message you pretending to be me. Just remember, they're not me. I will not message you first. There's so many scammers out there. You really do have to be careful. Okay, you really do have to be careful. We also did the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Prices are going to go up on Monday. So if you want to lock in the low rate, make sure you guys do that. All right, what other questions do you guys have? We're going to try to keep it short and sweet tonight. Yeah, we already talked about DOT. We'll talk about Vechain. Actually, you know, the Vechain Ether valuation is something I've looked at a lot before. Okay, and look at this. This was the last time I think I drew it out. I was like, all right, yeah, we're pretty far extended here. Now, this is interesting, right? This is interesting when you look at the Vechain Ether valuation, because it operates fairly consistently, okay? So what we're looking at here is you know, we've had these moves to these highs over here. This one even broke through it. But we've also had these bottoms that tend to bottom at around the same valuation against Ether, right? Against Ether. And right now we're closing in on it. So if you see the Vechain Ether valuation drop down 20-30% more, that could be an interesting opportunity for maybe a bounce like this. But then I would speculate that if it did bounce like that, it would still probably come back down later as Ether goes on another move, or in the other circumstances, if everything dumps, and altcoins usually dump harder than Ethereum. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know right now. It still looks like the Vechain Ether valuation. I mean, it could have more downside. I mean, I'm not trading this pair or anything. But just looking at it here, we are getting somewhat close to this region where it historically bounces. So we'll see what happens. You can see that we've bounced in that region a number of times before. The highest level we've bounced at, you know, typically is actually just below where we currently are. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's the Vechain Ether valuation. What else do you guys have? Yeah, I already looked at Ether Bitcoin. We already looked at that one. Yeah, I've said this before, guys, but Litecoin, just, you know, I mean, what else is there to say, right? I mean, let's go look at it on, you know, something over here. I just think that with Litecoin, I think that it's not to say that Litecoin can't do well, it's just that there's other projects that are going to significantly outperform it, okay? I mean, again, if you don't believe me, take it up with the data. I know some people get offended by it, but look at the Litecoin Ether valuation. And it just gets worse and worse. Like, look, every time I measure it, I come back a few months later, it's just worse. It was 90% down against Ethereum since April of 2019. Now, it's 91% down, almost 92% down. The next time I come to measure it in a month or two when someone else suggests it, it'll probably be 93% down. Why don't I go ahead and write that on here so when I come back to see it in a couple months, let's see what happens. This is the target, okay? This is the target for the Litecoin Ether valuation. So let's see if that plays out. I won't delete this. I'll just leave this up. This is the target, okay? And the date is 10/14. We'll leave this on the chart. I will come back and revisit this in a couple months. All right, we'll come back and revisit it inevitably when I'm doing a live stream in a couple months. And we'll say, all right, well, did it make it there? Right? I mean, if history is any indication, it's going to make it there. Because what it does is it bleeds against Ethereum. What does this mean? This means that if you had bought Litecoin instead of Ethereum, your opportunity cost is so abysmally high, I can't even think to talk about it at this point. I mean, if all the way back in April 2019, look, there's other projects that have been bleeding against Ethereum over the last year. Link is one of them, right? Link is one of them. But at least Link had a move in 2020 against Ethereum. And before that, it had basically just been going up for years and years and years. Yes, it's bled in the last year. Litecoin has been bleeding since April of 2019. It hasn't done anything consequential against Ethereum. My guess is that it's not going to do anything consequential against Ethereum. Not anytime soon. And, you know, I'd say the most bullish case for Litecoin, or the only time to really maybe get somewhat interested, is whenever it's close to the, you know, its halving. And the next halving, I believe, is what, like 2023 for Litecoin? So, no. We'll leave that on there. We'll see what happens. Let's go check out something else. What else do you guys want? All right. Yeah, we'll take a look at Matic. All right. So Matic is actually above its 21-week EMA, but it's actually slightly below its 20-week SMA. But it's still more or less holding the line here, and we could probably, you know, somewhat dubiously speculate that it's in long reaccumulation as well. Okay, so I think that's probably what we're more or less looking at for Matic. Maybe something like this, I don't know. It'll probably break out at some point. Obviously, all this depends on Bitcoin staying healthy. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys that. I just wanted to just briefly pull up the Matic chart. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing now. We're at 59.1K, so it's looking really good. Still have a little bit of work to do in order to put in new all-time highs. By the way, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, give the video a thumbs up. We also do have some other chat rooms as well. If you guys want to go talk about NFTs, we have Into the NFT-verse. I'll link that here. Yeah, we'll take a look at Solana. All right, so Solana right now is at 151. By the way, I would like to say this. On the risk, on the premium list, on the risk dashboard, the risk levels hit triple ones when it went above $200. Okay, it doesn't really do that often with altcoins. It doesn't usually hit triple ones. And the next day, Solana, it dumped. I mean, now obviously there was that issue that it had to work out, but it does go to show that the risk levels still have some validity even on projects that haven't even been around that long. But yeah, the dump came right after it hit triple ones on the Litecoin US, or not the Litecoin, the Solana USD risk, the Solana Bitcoin risk, and the Solana Ether risk were all flashing huge sell signals at the time. That actually, since then, it's actually held up relatively well, to be completely honest. So even if you didn't sell, you're still at 151 sold, compared to 210, not really that big of a deal. Probably ultimately going to break out back to the upside at some point. But it, you know, going to be in some consolidation for a while is my best guess. Okay, I wouldn't expect a new all-time high this week or next week. Maybe in a couple months next year. But I would say just be patient on it, like a lot of L1s actually. All right, we're at 59.1. I'm not going to stay up that much longer. It's getting pretty late here. I don't know if we're actually going to see 60K on stream, but I would, if I had to dubiously speculate, I would say that it's probably going to come at some point, you know, not too long from now. Yeah, you guys are suggesting a lot of projects already spoken about. Yeah, we can look at XRP, but I usually just look at XRP Bitcoin. I don't really care about anything else. So XRP Bitcoin, actually this corridor works out pretty well for this pair as well. XRP, that's interesting. So basically the idea is if it ever goes above the red line, it basically means just start running for the hills with your profits. Right now it's been slowly bleeding. At this point, it's probably going to keep bleeding against Bitcoin. I don't know what the hell it's going to do against the US dollar, but maybe sometime later end of year or something, it'll get a bounce. Okay, or early next year. I'm talking about against the Bitcoin valuation. I don't care what it's doing against the US dollar. I just care about what it's doing against Bitcoin. Typically, historically speaking, with XRP, it was just buy whenever it's below 10 to the minus 5 and sell when it's above 10 to the minus 4. When I'm talking about the Satoshi value. Okay. So below 10 to the minus 5, you buy. Above 10 to the minus 4, you sell. You rinse and repeat. You know, but obviously with the SEC and stuff, it hasn't been as attractive of an option anytime recently. Yeah, we can take a look at the dollar. So the dollar right now is at 93.938. I drew out earlier, this would be the ideal situation for Bitcoin if it comes back down. Obviously it might not. I mean, right now it's been rejected by the 100-week SMA. That's the one we're watching. If you are wanting to see Bitcoin go up, which I imagine most of you are, you probably want to see this get rejected here and come back down. Okay, that would be the ideal scenario for Bitcoin, for the dollar to get rejected at the 100-week SMA, which by the way has provided support in the past, and maybe it can provide some much needed resistance this time. Keep an eye on it. This is something we kept an eye on going into 2021 because everyone kept saying the dollar is just going to keep going down. And I said, well, you know, I mean, this is actually where it held support last time. Maybe it'll hold support. It actually has held support in January 2021, and then again in May of 2021. This corresponded to the dump that Bitcoin had. Since then, the dollar's been going up. Hopefully, it gets rejected here and comes back down. That would be really good for Bitcoin. That would also be really good for the stock market too. Okay. And the stock market, by the way, is also getting a bounce off its own bull market support band, right? This is SPY, SPY, talking about the S&P 500. Obviously, the Dow Jones is also something I'm going to look at, which is also back above its own bull market support band. What else do we have? I mean, right now, Bitcoin's just chilling right above 59K. Nothing really else to say, right? I mean, we're above 59K. Nah, we're not going to talk about EOS. Sure, we can talk about Algorand. Let's go talk about it. Oh, sorry, Algo USD. Sorry, it's above its bull market support band as well. It actually is probably more interesting to look at Algo Bitcoin. Yeah, honestly not super impressive. I mean, if we're being completely honest, but I mean, at least the one constellation prize is, maybe this is just long accumulation of the Algo Bitcoin pair. Similarly to what ADA Bitcoin did back in 2019. If you guys remember, this was this longer accumulation phase over here. And then it ultimately, yeah, I need to look at this corridor stuff on other pairs, because look, I mean, any time it gets above the red line, I guess it didn't get this one though. It's been a pretty good opportunity. Yeah, let me see some other ones. What are some other ones you can look at? What about Ether Bitcoin? How's it look with that one? Is that one useful? It is somewhat useful. Look at that. Right above it. I'll wick right to it. Yeah, so maybe if the Ether Bitcoin valuation comes above the red line, that'll be the sign to to run for the hills. Take your Ether back to Bitcoin if that happens. Right now, if you're curious where it is, instantaneously it corresponds, wow, to 0.16 is where it corresponds to today. 0.16. is the run for the hills level. Instantaneously, of course. That'd be the run for the hills level. If it goes all the way down to the green band, that'd be 0.042, which would be the load up level, right? That'd be the load. I mean, that would be the level of if it just bleeds for the entirety of Q4 and this comes down like this, that would be the best buy scenario for the Ether Bitcoin pair. Someone says, where's the chair? It's there. They're there. They're just close together. Yeah, I know. I mean, if Ethereum valuation against Bitcoin is going all the way up here, then we're getting into some serious flippening discussions at that point. We're obviously a long ways off from that. I don't think there's any chance in hell that that happens this year. Maybe next year, but even then, it's going to be a tall order. I mean, if you keep on going out, it's certainly possible, depending on how long the cycle lasts. But even if it were to flip it, I don't know that it would be sustained this market cycle. Like, I mean, maybe it happens, but I'd say in the short term, it's more likely that Bitcoin outperforms Ethereum. So it's not even really a point right at this moment worth discussing. Maybe we'll discuss it next year. But I mean, right now, I think it's more likely that it goes down this way for a little while. And then hopefully it comes back up even stronger. I mean, while, you know, I do think the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation is going to continue generally trending up with time. We've had these lines drawn on the channel for like 2 years now. All right, guys, why don't we wrap it up there? If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe. Well, what's Bitcoin doing? Let me just make sure it's not. Well, why don't we give it a chance here? It's at 59.2. Let me zoom in and see what it's doing. So we're gonna zoom in on it. Pretty nice hourly candle, up a very modest 3%. We'll go to the minute candles and see the move. It's starting to make a little bit of a move, so we'll stay live just a little bit longer and see what it does here, if it can in fact break above 59.4. Remember, if it gets to 59.5, we're taking out that second peak that happened in May. We'll see if that happens though. All right. If you guys want to continue the party, remember we do have the Telegram group. I'll post it in the chat. You guys can go check it out. We have 40 admins. Each admin is responsible for holding the line at various prices. The most recent admin was given the 40K admin title, so they got to hold the line at 40K in the event of a dump. We'll probably be doing 41K admin relatively soon. Let us wrap it up, right? What else is there to say? All right, Bitcoin looks relatively bullish, 59K. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to check out the premium list, intothecryptoverse.com. Prices are going up on Monday. I'll see you guys next time. Again, leave a like. If you guys like the content, definitely subscribe. We'll be here every single day, right? We'll be here every single day. See you guys next time. Bye.